Okay, it is about 8:30, 33 p.m. Central Standard Time. Welcome to week 6, or put it this way, 6. The point of the matter is this is it. 6 weeks ago, we mentioned that this would happen fast, and it happened pretty fast. And I appreciate everybody being patient with me. I posted an announcement um, to let you guys know what happened. I thought I had mentioned it before, but yeah, I've been dealing with some real serious issues here relating to my wife, and we're not out of the woods yet, so we're still dealing with some things, but it's been pretty heavy on your professor. But you know, my motto, adversity is a springboard to success. It might slow me down, but it's not going to stop me. So to that end, what I did was I got all the grades in from all the way up to week 4 and week 5, which you just finished a couple of days ago. I'm going to be getting those done over the weekend along with your week 6. Your final grades will be in by next Monday, and then I'll need a much needed break to give more attention to taking care of situation with my wife. So you guys keep me in your prayers. I'd appreciate it a great deal. This is pretty tough for me. So, excuse me a minute, let me take a swig of water here. Okay. So, anyway, one of the things I did not do was anyone who submitted their assignments late for weeks 3 and 4, I did not take away points for late submission, except I dealt with the discussion post. And so those are in now. So if you put 3 and 4 in now, you're going to lose points because you had plenty of extra time to get those done now. So uh, week 5 I'm going to get those done, and then we will be on the way. I already did the discussion posts. So, all right. And so, Princess, you know that you're in both of my classes, so you know the same thing happened in criminal law, introduction to criminal law. So you should be aware of that one. All right, so let's get going. Share my screen for the last time. Here we go. Little disturbed about what's happening in this country. Always I am. Um, you hear me talk about that a lot because that's my background, political science, and then lawyer. I believe in social justice and so forth, and I'm really disturbed at those killings and assaults on uh, Asian Americans in our country. It's just ludicrous. It's ridiculous, and our country needs a lot of prayer and deliverance. That's for sure. So, and then hopefully you guys will come out as educated, ethical, and professional criminal justice individuals to turn this tide around, at least in criminal justice. So uh, that's my goal as a professor, to make sure we do that. So let's take a look at the calendar for the last time. You see that? This is where we are. Your initial post was due yesterday. Your reading was given Monday. And your final exam is going to be Friday. How do you prepare for it? I think I've been talking about it the whole time. It's just very simply look at the PowerPoints, And if you've listened to the lectures and done the assignments, you should be ready. You really should be ready. Remember, it's a closed book exam. Okay. And then you have a written assignment. Diversion, treatment, and rehabilitation strategies, your final written assignment. Again, that's due. And you see that from this next thing that I put up, that the quarter ends at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on Friday. Okay. So it does not end the 20th. So if your assignment comes in and it says 12:01 or 12, I can't give you points for it because I can't extend the quarter. It doesn't end the 21st either. As I said, your final grades will be in on the 22nd, okay, from me. All right, so let's get right at it. Let's take a look at modules. No, let's look at first the final time, the announcement, which kind of like goes over what I just talked about. So drug-related criminal activity, treatment, and rehabilitation strategies. We've kind of been talking about that almost the whole course anyway. And chapter 10 of drugs, crime, and justice, I sent you the PowerPoints corresponding to that. Dealing with the topic of treatment challenges related to opioid addiction and drug treatment rehabilitation programs. And then the discussion post discuss methadone clinics. And then finally, the written assignment, diversion, treatment, rehabilitation strategies, and the final exam, all due by Friday the 19th. Then please take time to do the excuse me, end of quarter survey. I appreciate that as well. So remember my motto, adversity is a springboard to success. All right. So let's look at the module itself. Let's take a look at the assignments. So methadone clinics, dealing with methadone, and we're going to talk about methadone in a few minutes. Not one of my favorite things. I have kind of expressed why I don't like it in my response to some posts that I have, but I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. So your assignment is diversion, treatment, and rehabilitation strategies. Again, remember for the final time, we're using Dave's life circumstances scenario that we've been using since week 1. Then you're going to address these 3 bullet points, okay? And it says provide at least one credible source. Remember what I said about that. The more, the better. Again, if you're going to use information, because you're going to have to do at least a minimum of 2 pages. Many of you lose points because you do 1 page, which means you don't read the instructions or the rubric, because it clearly states 2 to 3 pages. Does not count the cover page, does not count the reference page. So you should have APA formatted. So what I was going to say is that in 2 pages, I believe that it would probably be more professional for you to give credit to the sources that you use in your papers, along with adding, making sure that most of your paper is your critical thinking. Otherwise, when I run them through Grammarly, you get a high Grammarly percentage, and then you'll lose points for that. All right. So very important, very, very, very important that you understand that. Because remember, the key thing, we're more interested in your analysis of the issues supported by what you discovered from your research. Okay, so you're going to deal with each of these issues, and then we'll go over the rubric in just a minute. Okay, so now let's go and take a look at the rubric. Friday, Okay, so you remember that I don't operate on these three: emerging, competency, and proficiency. I want everybody to end up here. And you know what? If you end up in mastery, I check the box. I might say it's a nice paper, but I'm not going to tell you anything. If I check the box in this one, like for example, mastery for 8 points, that means you did everything you needed to do in here. Notice it says thorough details of what type of program you would recommend. And those types of things generally mean to me, even without saying it, that critical sources. In other words, you don't know this, so you had to research it. And so you're going to put a summary of different types of treatment programs that you discovered from your research, and then give citations in the body and references at the end. By the way, if you have one citation and you have 4 references, you're going to lose points because your citations should support the statements. Your references should be the source given directly where you got the information that was included in your paper. So you're going to deal with treatment programs for 8 points, and you're going to cover each of these issues relating to Dave. Diversion strategies. Locate a current example of a diversion strategy with thorough examination of how the strategy will treat addiction and reduce recidivism. I've given you some this course that you can utilize to help, um, and those relate to the legislation. And then we discussed a program that in Massachusetts, but there are others out there as well that you can find from your research. All right. You could Google or check diversion strategies or either deflection strategies for drug treatment. Treatment strategies, locate a current example. Okay. Rehabilitation strategy, and talk about that. The key is to help the person. Remember our goal that we've been talking about from day one is to turn that person around, to get them to 6 o'clock on the clock so that they're going in another direction. Okay, and make sure that you have benefits. What are the benefits to Dave of the programs and so forth? And then credible sources. If you don't have any, you're going to end up over here. All right. And then if you don't have 2 pages, double space with no spelling errors, grammar, punctuation, you're going to end up somewhere between here and here. But if you have under 2 pages, you're going to be over here. Did not meet the requirement of the 2 pages. Many of you have fallen short because of that. Any questions about this assignment? Excuse me. Type in the chat box, yes or no. Okay, good. Good. I figured you got it because you usually do pretty well. Okay, not to put your business in the streets, but you know, well, your business will be in the streets anyway because you'll be on the Dean's List and Honor Roll. Uh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Just keep up the good work. I encourage my students. You know how I am. Somebody once said, Professor Wright, some of these assignments you give us. Number one, I follow the assignments that the school gives me to give to you. Number two, I understand why they did them is because they want you to gather the knowledge so that you will be able to recall one day in your professional career what you learned in school. As I learned a long time ago, a lot of things I learned in school, I kind of got them, but you know when I really got them? I really got them when I started doing practicums or either hands-on type things. You know, that's that's what internships and externships are all about, to give you the opportunity to see how things really work. And then as you're doing those things, a light bulb will come on and says, I remember when we were in Professor Wright's class, or whoever's class, and it comes back to you. So that's one of the things. So our goal is to do that. Remember, we're not preparing you to be professional students. We're preparing you to be professionals in the field that you choose. All righty. So now let's go back, and then your final exam, which I already told you what to do. It's an hour-long exam. It is closed book, and you want to make sure that you're prepared. Again, those students who have actually done well with their grading on their papers, follow the rubrics, did the reading, looked at the PowerPoints, either came to the lectures or either at least made sure that they listened to the lectures in detail. Some students listen to them more than once. The point of the matter is that you get that information in you, and you do the, if you have practice quizzes like the one in, criminal law, you know what I'm talking about. Princess, you were in that class there. Uh, they have the practice exams to help you out, to get you ready for the real exam. Because remember, um, in that class, you got an exam coming up, uh, which will cover weeks, just digressing a little bit, 4, 5, and 6. Well, here in this particular exam, it's going to cover more of that from the beginning to all the way through. And then your live classroom phrase, which I will give you for the last time for this course. So now let's go to the lesson content. So we're just going to deal with these two topics here. And we're going to kind of like sound redundant, but we'll be talking about that. And so opioid addiction. We have since beginning been talking about the fact that opioid addiction is a crisis, and that it is a life-changing experience for the negative, and that it has adversely affected relationships in families. It's created socialization problems for those individuals, and um, what happens is that um, these relationships diminish. And so opioid addiction has some physical and psychological issues. So the body can um, can end up in death. You could die because when you um, take these opioids, you will find yourself increasing dosage to get the effect of the high that you initially felt. And as a result, you can eventually overdose. And one of the problems is that if you get hooked on this, or you have, as you heard the term, a monkey on your back, you have certain side effects that you have to deal with. These withdrawals are just 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 a serious issue that you have to deal with. And then it mentions here about restlessness, muscle and bone pain, insomnia, diarrhea, vomiting, cold flashes, and sweating. And so the clinics across the country, which has to do with our discussion post tonight of this week, have to do with dealing with methadone, um, bupropion, uh, but methadone, what it does is it doesn't cure you. It just it's like painkillers. It just uh, uh, deadens the symptoms. but the only real true thing that you need to be aware of is you have to decide that you want to go through the withdrawals. Medication, methadone itself, as it says, is addictive, and that it is something that you have to constantly be monitored. You have to go to the clinic frequently, and if you don't, then you'll slide back into utilizing it. And so there are clinics all over the place, and um, uh, and also you should be aware of that. Unlike some of those K2 spice drugs, methadone can still be detected in drug tests. And and it doesn't eliminate the possibility of using other opioids and so forth. But you remember the road from last week. I apologize for the choppy video, but uh, one day they're going to fix it so that when I play it back, that people will be able to hear it clear. That's why we have the subtitles. But you saw the seriousness of what it does in the life of a person, about how it can take a good person who innocently maybe went to the doctor for some health issue and was given painkillers, and then began to abuse those painkillers, and they weren't adequate enough to satisfy them. So what happened is that they began to graduate and get into heroin, and we had to find those people, and sometimes they overdosed, and we use Noxalone, which you guys know, Narcan. It can is one. And the point of the matter is if you don't get to a person in time, then they die. I think we saw last week in the video there was a young man who was actually dead, but they were able to get him and bring him back to life. Everybody's not so fortunate as that. It's like playing Russian roulette with your life. And so the point of the matter is that it drags you down, reduces you to a quality of life, if you want to call it that, that is not. And so I don't like methadone because of this last paragraph. Says another argument against methadone is that it essentially removes or postpones the hard work associated with abstaining and recovery. In other words, you find yourself in a situation that the only real way to be free of this, so far as what they've come up with in using this methadone, is to almost and I can't have trouble saying that word, anesthetize you, or give you an anesthetic type thing. That's kind of like the way methadone operates, and it just postpones the use of abusing opioids. But the commitment to the action necessary for recovery is seldom more than a half-hearted attempt. That's my point in a nutshell, and that's my major criticism of methadone. And look at what it says here. It says intensive counseling, attending meetings, having a sponsor, and building a support network can be all postponed. And it has been indicated in some studies that over 70% of people relapse after stopping using methadone. And so you can take a look at this other video on your time. It's almost 2 hours, Chasing Heroin, which follows the same line as the video we saw in week 5, Chasing the Dragon. So it's a challenge, and so we come with dealing with these challenges, and now we go to some programs that can help. And we talk about things like um, peer support, inpatient, outpatient treatments, where you actually are almost like in jail, but you're kept in so that your body can detox. That's the key thing. Your body detoxes. But boy, it is not an easy thing, and it is not a short term. They say short-term residential treatment is common, and usually is 30 days. I can tell you the truth. From what I know in my experience and talking to drug counselors, that it takes more than 30 days for a person to fully and completely detox. Because if you're outpatient, you have more temptations that will come upon you uh, to cause you to keep going back and forth, or either maybe you take one step forward and two steps back, and you keep doing that until finally you end up right back where you started, or worse than that. And so what happens is that in order to try to help people that are not inpatient, they participate in what we call group therapy, where they have individuals like the Alcoholics Anonymous steps that we're going to conclude with here in a few minutes, that helps you to understand what kind of things you need to support yourself so that you can be a recovering addict. Now, I have heard it said that once an addict, always an addict. Well, that may be the case in many, many, many instances, but I am aware of some, but unfortunately the number is small because of the amount of um, things that a person goes to get there. Here's the deal. Don't get in it in the first place, because once you get in it, it's kind of like the spider to the fly, or either like a fly landing in a spider web. You'll be stuck, and then that spider has you at his or her mercy, and they can do whatever they want to do with you. Well, that's the same thing that that drug does with individuals. And so these groups, like Alcoholic Anonymous and other 12-step programs, provide support, uh, but it's critical to the use. And one miss, one shortfall can set a person back. It says that for opioid addiction, medicated assisted treatment with methadone or bupropion or extended release injectable uh, noxatrolone plays a critical role in the treatment of opioid use disorders. What they do is, as I said, they mask the symptoms, or they ease the symptoms, and gives you a chance to recover. However, the key things you got to remember is that it's just like when you ever take something for pain, and then they tell you to take it so many times a day. Well, so many hours after you've taken that painkiller, that pain returns. In reality, it didn't return. It never left, but that drug that was in your system put your body in such a state that you were oblivious to the pain. But as soon as that wore off, then you found yourself in the position where you began to focus on that pain. And it did not return, I repeat, but it's there. So it's the same thing with methadone. The addiction does not disappear. It's still there. But in the meantime, you're focusing on something else. But as soon as that thing is moved away, even for a minute, you fall back into your routine that you had before. And did you not know that if you ever seen people work with people, when they do what we call fall back, when they or backslide in uh, those the drug usage for methadone, the next time is worse. It's harder. It's like the second time is worse than the first. Reminds me of something I read in the Bible. But the truth of the matter is that um, you want to try to get it right the first time. What you really want to do is, as those people said in that video time and time again in Chasing the Dragon that we looked at last week, don't do it. Hear my words, hear my voice. There is no good result. Don't do it. Don't do it socially, because it sucks you in like a vacuum sucks in dirt, like a tornado sucks in something that's on the ground, and it manipulates you, takes away your willpower and desire and ability for a quality life. Great minds have been lost because of opioid use or opioid addiction. And the famous last words is, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it again. But then, unless they're able to go through the withdrawal stage, not using methadone, but the withdrawal stage, and come out on the other side and go in a new direction. As I talked about my example of 12 o'clock, getting down to 6 o'clock and going in a totally different direction, your life is still going to be the same. You're going to be playing Russian roulette, and eventually you're going to pull the trigger, and there's going to be a bullet that ends everything for you. And oftentimes it's mature. I'm 70 years old, will be 71 in May 3rd. I've never used it, but I've seen the effects of it. I have shared before, I have a sister who overdosed on cocaine. So I totally understand the effects that it can have. I've seen children grow up with parents who were under that. I've seen siblings. Um, so anyway, we conclude with this by talking about using a program like Alcoholics Anonymous and having these 12 steps. But you'll notice that whether you believe in God or not is not relevant to this. What is relevant to this is that you understand that there is a force that is greater than you that you need to recognize that can help you. And usually accountability with a strong partner that can hold you accountable can help you. You might even start to dislike that person. It's just like when you're trying to lose weight and you start to see food and the temptation and all the different things that you want to do. I have this thing called intermittent fasting I do. And right now I'm on my fast from 7 o'clock on until tomorrow morning. So I'm not eating anything tonight, but I can do this. I can drink water, but no flavored water or anything like that. The closest to flavored water I drink is Hint. Anybody know what Hint is? Either of you know what Hint is? You ever heard of it? No? Okay. It's it's actually not the same as flavored water, but it is. It has what it says. It's a hint of the flavor, but it's not sweet. But I like it. I like it. I drink that. I have a watermelon. I have different cherry. I drink lemon. But there's no calories in it. There's no artificial sweeteners in it or nothing. So, but anyway, I drink a lot of water that helps me with that to keep, you know, my mind off of that food thing. But anyway, the point of the matter is, all I'm simply trying to say is it's based on a discipline. A discipline. It's not easy. And so let's look at these points. Since first we admit we are powerless. They said talking about over alcohol, but let's put drugs in here. We're powerless over drugs, that our lives become unmanageable. Well, you admit you have a problem first. That's basically what you're saying. You can't help somebody who's in the river that's in Egypt called the denial. It's a joke. If you're in denial, can't help, because the person is going to rationalize. But admit that you have a problem. Now, you go to the next step after you've done that. Believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. And that power is usually not a person, but it's some kind of thought process. I use God. Some people use another form of God. Some people use positive thinking. The point of the matter is, it's not something that you can hang your hat on. It's something that you have to operate and accept as something that can help you. Don't box with something that can help you. Utilize it to help you. Made a decision to turn your will and lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Again, that's getting back to the power as you understand whoever that source is, that power. Remember, it's not a human. Though a human can be utilized to point you back to it. I do it as a pastor with people all the time, but I'm not following them around everywhere. They have to understand and decide that they're going to do it. As I tell my people in church, the Bible is an open book test. You can either, you don't have to have a closed book. You can open the book and find the answers to what you need to do, but you have to be committed and willing to follow the tenets. And you have to believe. People usually act on things that they believe. Remember that. People act on things they believe. Generally, they don't act on things that they don't believe. So, 4 says, made a searching and fearless moral inventory. We have in the Bible a passage that says, let a man examine himself. In other words, take a look at yourself. Did you not know that looking in the mirror is not really you? That is an image of you, a reflection of you, even a picture of you that you look at. That's not you. You've never seen you, but you know you because you've been with yourself all your life. You begin to learn about yourself. But then the things that are poured into you by your raising in childhood and your experiences in life begin to shape and mold you into what you will become in time. 4, make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Are we going to operate morally or immorally? Some people believe immorally is the easiest way to do it. Well, I got news for you, immoral people. You'll always find yourself landing in a situation or a circumstance ultimately that will not be pleasing or beneficial to yourself. Put it another way, you become self-destructive. Number 5, admit it to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. In other words, you have the one you cannot see, and then you accept yourself where you really are, and then have a person to hold you accountable to moving away from the wrongs. Not to not to slap you on the wrist, say, oh, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. No, it's not okay, because you're living beneath the privileges that you can have. You're living beneath prosperity. That's why my motto, adversity is the springboard to success, using a negative to turn into a positive, like diving off of a board from in a pool. You use that to launch you. Number 6, we're entirely we're entirely ready to have God move all these defects. So in other words, you stand ready. You sign up in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your spirit, that you decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You know what people call, you know what an affirmation is, right? You guys know what affirmations are? Yeah. So so that you can, your life consists of a bunch of affirmations, which is short for affirming. What you're really doing is speaking statements. That's why words count. Things that you say, oh, I'm just stupid, or I can't do this, or it's hard, or it's impossible. Those are words that you should discard. Those are phrases you should discard, because I've had people to tell me, you're not going to make it as a lawyer. And I said this before to you guys. I didn't tell them. I invited them to the graduation. So I never had to even go tell them. Says, see, I told you, that's a wasted energy. No, 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 no. They could see it. And if they can't see it, then shame on them. Number 6, okay, we're ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Okay, yep. So you want these bad things removed from your life, the things I just said. Number 7, humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. Let me say this to you. You're going to have shortcomings probably all of your life. However, you want to manage those shortcomings so that they don't put you and turn you into spiraling down the wrong direction. I, I, I have had students to come to me and say, Professor, I'm at the end of my rope. I said, well, just don't put the rope around your neck. Let go of the rope. Sometimes the rope is holding you. And so you're not holding it. Let it go. And just go for what you need to do. Go the hard road. Do you know that one of the things about law school, I always tell people, it is not one of the easiest things in the world. And my friends who are doctors, I think they have far more than we do, as do accountants are kind of on the same level we are. But it's relative. It's relative. I didn't understand a lot of stuff that I learned in school until I heard it over and over and over. And then, as I said earlier in this lecture, when I got hands-on experience, it helped me to put to tie the two together, the educational with the practical side. I was fortunate that when I went to law school, I had spent, let's see, from 69 to 75, so 6 years working in a law firm in various capacities, all the way up from a messenger to a file clerk to a law librarian to what later on became a law clerk, and then I graduated. So when I went to law school, I was ahead of a lot of people who had gone straight from college and hadn't really worked. And so I could connect things a lot faster. But that's what I'm trying to say. Your practical experiences. Make a list of all the persons that you've harmed. and become willing to make amends to them all. Now, you have to do this appropriately and orderly, okay? But first, remember one of the things. You can't help anybody until you help yourself first. That might sound like a selfish statement. You all know this one, but I'm going to say it anyway. You've heard that when you're flying on an airplane and the air is light in the cabin and you have a child with you, do you put the mask on the child first or yourself first? Which one? Okay. Anybody want to say anything different? The answer is yourself. Let me explain why. Why? No. Did you say you hate it? No, 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 no. Because remember this, you need to be able to be in a state of mind to save your child. So how do you get into a state of mind first? Is to put the mask on yourself. You start to breathe, and then you can properly put the mask on your child. The child can't put the mask on you, not most anyway. So it makes a whole lot of sense. Do you see my point? You see my point? Well, that might be a mother nature thing, but actually, most mothers in mother nature are already taken care of enough that they're educated enough to be able to take care of their babies. Think about it that way. Does it make sense what I said? Makes a whole lot of sense in reality. It's like this. Friends of mine who are lifeguards, and the lifeguard will tell you that when they get ready to save a person from drowning, do they come up behind them or in front of them? Which one? Anybody know? Behind. Know why? Because the person is panicking and they will grip the first thing that comes, and a death grip will be on them, and they will neutralize the ability of the lifeguard and they both would drown. But when you come up behind them, you surprise them, and as a result, you save their lives. Well, it's the same concept that I've been talking about a few minutes ago. You know, um, I've talked to. I have a bunch of females around me. I have no brothers. I have 8 sisters. I have 6 daughters, and I teach them, and their mothers, their mother teach them that look, in order for you to be a good mother, you have to be a good child first. What you learn in your childhood will help you when you grow up to become a better mother. And that could be things that you've seen done that you should do, and things that you've seen done that you should not do. So again, going back to the point, if you don't put that mask on that child right, because you're not your mind is your head is light, you both can die, or you both will be without oxygen. So it's not that you delay it. You just put it on yourself first, and then you'll be able to breathe, and then you'll be able to have the capacity to do set that child up and save them. Trust me, it's what happens all the time, all the time. So you have to begin to think like that. think like that and why they said that. It made a whole lot of sense. When I first heard it, I thought the same thing too. That I'd put it on the child first. But to be the best parent, you got to be the best uh, child, or a child that's learning the right things to do, so that when you do have a child. So anyway, so you get the point. Made the recommends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them. So you have to be wise about how you do that. Continue to take personal inventory when you were wrong and properly admitted it. I mean, keep going over and over and over in yourself, not beating yourself with it, but reminding yourself of what you did wrong, and move away from it. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. I always tell people I don't have control of my life. God has control of my life, or whoever else you believe in has control of your life. Be very careful about making that a particular individual. Now, a lot of times people say, well, it's my parents, or a mentor. Well, there is a contribution made by those parties. However, you also want to support it with the things that benefit you. In other words, I don't have any children in my house that became lawyers. Of my 8 kids, none of them, not a one. Closest one was a clinical psychologist in criminal law. The rest became teachers and other uh, areas that they're working in. But it's okay. The point of the matter is I set an example for them of how to survive based upon uh, them using that mnemonic that I have in the student lounge about lawyers. Listen to learn, and you'll earn A for arithmetic, W Wright, E being able to express yourself, R reading, S studying, and then the Y is you. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, you go back to the student lounge, and you'll see it on my profile there. And then finally, having had spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, carry this message to alcoholics or other individuals. Give them your testimony. Give them the story of what you did, and to help individuals. So these are some of the steps in recovery for, as it says, addictions, whether it's drugs, alcohol, or whatever. So the key thing is you got to make up in your mind that you really want to do it. It's like I say in the beginning of the course, don't ask me how to get a C in my class. If you follow the road that I paved for you, no matter how difficult it might appear to be for you, I'm paving the road to A's and B's. And that's the key. That's why when I talk about the rubric, I only look at the mastery. Look at it from that standpoint. Don't even waste your time over on the other side. Mm-mm. The cream of the crop are the ones that you want to be. You want to be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. You want to be the leader, but in order to be a good leader, you have to be first a good follower, but you got to follow good leaders to become a good leader. And that's it, folks. That's all I got. Um, so I'm done. Any questions? Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure teaching you. Oh yeah, I gotta give you a key phrase. Anybody want to take a suggestion and see what'll be a good one for today, for the final time? See if anybody gets what's on my mind. Take a shot at it. No, that's too long. I wouldn't do that. It's actually one word. Nope. Methadone. That's it. I knew you were going to say that. Or when somebody always says, after I started to say, that reminds me of true false exams. People says, I was going to say it was true. I knew it was really true. Then why did you check false? So give me methadone and you got your points. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed teaching this class. I hope you've enjoyed the class. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope that you understand and begin to recognize why at the beginning of this course I said that you're going to discover that drugs and crime go together, and that drugs lead to crime, and that what's your question? Yep. Oh yeah, I said that before you came. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. No, don't be afraid. You've done the work. You've done the assignments. Or as far as I know, you did the assignments. Or did somebody do them for you? Don't be afraid. You got this one. You got this one. Don't worry. You'll be okay. You know what? Uh, yeah, I know. I do. But I always tell students, don't let fear block what you know already. I remember when I was going through uh, to be ordained as a minister. And I was going through my ordination and I had studied and I knew it was going to be a bunch of questions. And I couldn't open my Bible, but I could have my Bible on the table. And I sat there in front of a panel of about 5 different pastors and ministers. And the first one came up, says, I have a question that I want to ask you. Focus on what you're going to say before you say it. Immediately, I said, oh man, I did what you said now. I got anxious. I know the material, but so you know what the question was? The question was, what is your name? So I got all worked up when that person set it up like that. And therefore, I could have messed up with an answer. The point of the matter is something that you already know. You already know this stuff. It's demonstrated by your work ethic. So don't worry about it. It's just do it. Get it over with. There are people who have what they call test anxiety. I don't do too well on standardized tests, but these tests are not standardized. These tests are actually based on knowledge of the information that you should have already gone over from week one. And it's only 6 weeks, so it would stick. You're young. You'd be able to remember it. So don't be anxious. You're going to be okay. You're going to do fine. Anything else? If not, again, I hope to see some of you down in my classes in the future. Uh, term one, I'm teaching Introduction to Corrections. And anybody taking that next term? Term one, Introduction to Corrections. And the other course that I'm teaching you probably, you may or may not have, but I doubt it, constitutional law, which I'm excited about teaching, especially with all the different things that are going on now with government. So I will be teaching that as well during term one. I don't remember what I got for term two, but term two probably is going to end up being, you might have constitutional law. Okay, well, if you do, you'll see me. That's an interesting course. I really enjoy teaching all the courses, but constitutional law, criminal law, evidence, those are some of the other stuff I've worked with in political science and in my professional career. But any of them that end with the word law in it or legal issues, then I enjoy. Um, So, all right. Well, I'm going to say good night to you guys. Be safe. I'm doing okay now, as I say, with the challenges that I'm dealing with my wife. Applied criminal procedures. Yeah, I wanted to teach that class, but they haven't given it to me. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I took my first shot Sunday. I went through a little pain. But I'm okay. I feel better now. And then my next shot will be the 11th of April. And then I got 30 days after that, and then I'll be prime time. I'm still going to be walking around wearing my mask, because I wear two. Well, stay safe, guys. Enjoy your break. And yeah, two. Yeah, I wear two masks. I do. I really do. So because we got these new strains out, you guys know, and you keep hearing about these new strains out, and people got to understand. First, it went from no mask to one mask, and now the CDC, Dr. Fauci and Walensky of the CDC and other doctors, even my private doctor. And by the way, if you have any doubts about the shot or anything like that, talk to your people that you trust. So people can ask me, but probably one closest to you that you can talk to is your own doctor. Most doctors highly recommend it. My wife was hesitant to take it. She was fortunate. She got the Johnson one and done. So she finished hers Saturday. And so in 30 days, she's ready to go. So, all right, guys, see you on the other side. Have a good one. Again, if you need me, you know what to do. Talk to you later. Good night. Thank you.